tell you, this is a stretch for me, being this far away, because I like to be with whoever I'm speaking to, and I roam when I speak. So if I fall off the stage, you have to clap like it was planned, because I'm not used to that. So it's an honor and a privilege to be here. Can we give it up for Matt one more time? He is awesome. I've had the privilege of knowing his family for years, and they are the real deal. They are constantly giving back to causes and to people and just to their friends in life. So we absolutely love the Powell family. It's a privilege to be here. I met Matthew New Year's weekend when Alabama came to Atlanta to play in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. And at that point in time, I didn't know anything about him. He didn't know anything about me. And we sat and talked for a few minutes. And then days later, he had this plan running around in his head to be here tonight. So it took him no time to throw this together. So a huge thank you to Matthew for making this happen. The issue of human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking, is the largest growing organized crime in the world today. There are estimates anywhere between 27 million to have heard as far as 150 million victims of trafficking globally. In the United States, where we are the land of the free and the home of the brave, where we abolished slavery in 1865, there are more known people held in bondage in modern day slavery today than any other time in our nation's history. So it's really important that we talk and just share a little bit about what we know. How many of you are middle schoolers out there? Let me hear you. Come on, I know you make noise. Okay. Seriously, that was lame. I love you, but come on. How many of you are high schoolers out there? All right, own it. Yeah, be proud, loud and proud. All right, how many of you are parents out there? Y'all give it up for your parents. That's pretty awesome that they care and that they're here. How many grandparents do we have there? Okay, there's a proud grandma over here. Bless you. Yes. The reason that I ask is I like to know who I'm talking to so that I can speak specifically to where you are in life and what's going on with you. The issue of sex trafficking has a really long definition, but I'm really simple. I'm a former kindergarten teacher. And I also did youth ministry, so I'm used to hanging out with middle school and high school, so I understand. Let's cut to the chase and just throw it out there. Sex trafficking is the commodification of sex. It is the buying and selling of an individual for one person's financial gain and another person's twisted pleasure. And so we have to talk about this, and some people get really wiggy because the word sex is in there, and it's really not about the actual sex. It is about control, manipulation, money, and the chase after a dopamine release. It doesn't matter what you're doing, your brain is constantly seeking after that release of dopamine. If you play sports, how many of you play sports out there? And you win, you get that big rush. Guess what that big rush is? It's not because you scored the winning touchdowns, because you've had a big release of dopamine. If you smoke weed, and I hope you don't, you get that dopamine release, then you jump to something else because it wanes. And you end up going to a harder drug and a harder drug because you're chasing that dopamine release. You're not chasing the weed. You're not chasing the crack or even the heroin. You're chasing the dopamine release, whether you know it or not. The same is true with the gateway to purchase in this life. The gateway to purchase is pornography. A lot of people say to me, you know, why are you getting in people's business? Pornography is a harmless crime. It's because you see what the producer wants you to see. You see exactly what is in the frame. You see people walking around here tonight and they've got cameras and they're framing things. And guess what? If they're really good at what they do, they can make this look like anything they want to. What you don't know is the person who's in that film as they're recording it very likely can have someone off camera holding a gun to their head, where if they don't do what they're supposed to do, that they could lose their life. One of the survivors that I work with is a former porn star who was trafficked. See, I have the privilege of meeting men and women all across the country, and I work with survivors. So we get the inside scoop. when there's no lights and there's no camera and there's nobody else in the room, and they just tell us the real deal. So I want to share some of that with you because it's important to have the behind the scenes information for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to fall victim to this. They call it the life and they call it the game, but there's no life in it, it's death, and there's no game involved. There's no winners, there's losers and losers. Whether you're collecting the money, whether you're paying the money, or you're the victim, everybody loses in this game at some point or another. So let's talk about how someone comes to be a sex trafficking victim. Nobody sets out to do it. It's one of those things that happens, whether you know it's going to happen or not. Traffickers are really savvy. They're not these street thugs walking around in purple leisure suits with the furry dice hanging from their rear view mirror and a fuzzy hat on, like these Halloween costumes like to perpetrate, or back in the 70s. Look around you. Look at the people sitting in this audience right now. That's what a trafficker looks like. Men traffic, women traffic, couples traffic, gangs traffic, families traffic their own children for mortgage payments, for their next hit of cocaine, for their car payment. And classmates traffic. There have been cases all across the country where a high school student is trafficking their classmates. So traffickers look just like you and me. The purchasers, you want to know what they look like? Look around. They look like you and me. Men purchase, women purchase, couples purchase, groups purchase. Lastly, you want to know what the victims look like? You can probably guess where I'm going with this, right? What am I going to say to you? Look around. This is not a respecter of persons. This impacts black, white, Asian, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, rich, poor, introvert, extrovert. It really doesn't matter. When I sat with a trafficker for 3.5 hours to interview him as I was writing the book Rescuing Hope, I said, tell me what your typical target looks like. He said, that's easy, breathing. I said, what do you mean breathing? He said, I could take you over to Lenox Mall, which is one of the big malls in Atlanta, not far from where we were having our interview. He said, I could take you over there to the food court, and I could walk you in, and you could point to anyone in that room, and I could tell you, like that, how I would have them in my car in 5 minutes. See, in middle school and high school, we are big risk takers. We think we're invincible. The world is our oyster and we're going after it, and it's great. You should feel that way. But the reality is there are people out there who have a target on your back, and they are mastermind manipulators. For the girl, and I say girls, but you need to understand something. Boys are trafficked too. The average entry age into the life for girls is 12 to 14. For boys, it's 11 to 13. So middle school students, pay close attention. Learn what to look out for, because you are the #1 target audience that they're looking for, because they call it pure, untouched, fresh. Basically, they're going after virginity if they can get it, because they get a higher dollar for that. If you're not one, well, they'll lie about it, so they won't disqualify you for that. High school students, they're coming after you too, because the supply is limited in some cases and the demand is high. And as one trafficker said, if we get a call, we take them all. They constantly feel the demand. They don't shut down. He said, we may close, but we never doze. College students, if there are any of you here, I forgot to ask how many college students are here. One of my traffickers that I interviewed told me that her, pay attention, her target audience was college students. So you need to understand how critical this is. So the ways that someone is lured into the trade is easy: force, fraud, or coercion. So this trafficker said, okay, Chatty Cathy, she got FOMO. All of y'all that know what FOMO is, help the old people around. What is FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Fear of missing out, exactly. She's not going to miss anything. So he's going to walk up to her and he's going to invite her to a party. And she's going to be all about that because she's the center of attention and she doesn't want to miss anything. The only problem is she's going to be the guest of honor for this party, but it's not a party she really wants to be the guest of honor for because that's basically a prearranged gang rape. And one of the persons in the room that rapes her will be her trafficker. And she'll have to call him daddy because that is the messed up mentality of this life. They set things up and they model family in the most dysfunctional format of family that exists. The other girls in the herd or the stable, and yes, they use animal terms, they're called your wives-in-laws or your wifeys. And there is a standard and a rule system that you have to follow. It doesn't matter if you're right here in Tuscaloosa or up in Washington State. It seems to permeate this industry across the board. To be as disconnected as we think it is, and we think it's this street kid running and that street kid running, there are trafficking rings, and this is a national issue. And pimps, like everybody else, have figured out that if they can network and work together, they can make more money, more bang for the buck. Think for a minute, you can figure out where that phrase came from. For the girl who maybe carries a little bit extra weight, maybe she's got some acne, glasses, or just got braces, he'll saddle up next to her and he'll say, "Hey, beautiful," because nobody said that to her in a while. Dads, granddads, older brothers, tell those in your life that they're beautiful. Tell them that they're smart. Tell them that they matter, because if you can fill that love tank, they're not going to go out there searching for somebody else to do so. It's important. Your words carry power, and it can change the pathway of those that you love. Classmates in school, think about your words to your friends. You can be saying something cruel and thinking it's hilarious, but setting your classmate up for the next trafficker that's going to come by. For the girl who is back up against the wall, maybe she's on the outside, the fringe of the group, where she wants to be part of the group, but she's not really part of the group, but because it makes the ringleader look cool to have more bodies there, they let her kind of hang around. But nobody even acknowledges that she's there. Well, he'll saddle up next to her and say, "What do you think?" Because nobody ever asks her what she thinks. It's that quick, it's that easy. In 5 minutes, he would have girls consistently in his car traveling down the road to a destination they never wanted to go. So force, fraud, and coercion. How many of you have seen Taken? Okay, that's Hollywood's version of this, but we can learn something from Hollywood. Just don't believe everything out. It's kind of like the internet. Don't believe everything out there. So, do you remember when the two girls flew into Paris and they were getting off the plane and they were looking for a cab to go to the apartment they were staying in? And this really cute guy saddled up next to him and started talking to him and asked if he could split a cab with him to save money. Seems harmless, right? I mean, if you're on vacation, let's save a buck, right? Do me a favor. Do the share ride with Uber. Don't meet some stranger and do that. Because he was a lure. His job was to find out as much as he could about them, figure out where they're staying. Then he picked up his phone and he called the trafficker. He got his cut. He didn't have sex with anybody. He didn't kidnap anybody. He's not a trafficker. Well, our nation's getting a whole lot more savvy with our laws, that they would now go after someone like that as a trafficker and prosecute them just like the one who's buying and selling them. So be careful where you give your information out. Most people think, because they've seen the movie Taken, that the way someone ends up in trafficking is they physically get taken. Or they think because it's trafficking that you have to take them from one point to another. Guess what? Someone can be trafficked in their own home and never leave it, especially if it's familial trafficking going on. It has nothing to do with moving you from one location to another. It has to do with the transaction of money, goods, or services in exchange for sex. So what does force look like in the world today, right here in suburbia, or in small town America, or even in a city like Atlanta? School systems took a hit when our economy tanked a few years ago. And just like everybody else, they were looking for places to cut. So they had something called central drops for middle school and high school. And as long as you didn't have to walk over 1.5 miles, 2 miles, they would pull up to your subdivision, they would open the door, and everyone got off the bus and they had to walk home to their houses. So Hope was no different. She was 15. She got off her bus and she walked home. Just like you do, some of you every day, walking with their friends, and then different people went to their respective homes. She saw a white paneled van, no words on it, just a white work van. Guy sitting in it had a baseball cap, a clipboard, and he was writing something out. Now, if you weren't sitting at a trafficking conference, you might think, well, that's a bill of sale or an estimate on a paint job. But what he was doing, because he was a trafficker, he was charting the flow of bus traffic. He was looking for that kid that walks by themselves. He figured out Hope went 1/4 mile by herself in that subdivision with no one else. So several days later, he parked his van a little further down the road. Now, did a neighbor report that? No. He didn't look out of place. People with white panel vans are always parked in subdivisions doing work. It's cheaper. If you don't have enough money with your company to put your logo on the side, you work until you can. And you're looking for opportunities to earn money. So if an adult saw it, it didn't look out of place. Today, parents, grandparents, I challenge you, if you're driving in your subdivision and you see that, be real savvy. Get out, go knock on the window and say, hey, what kind of work are you doing for them? I'm thinking about having that done. Can you give me a business card? If they can't produce some type of print material with a logo on it, just say, no worries, I'll catch you next time. Go home and call either the National Trafficking Hotline or 911. Tell them there's something that looks out of place here. You may actually prevent a child from being taken into the sex trade. Hope walked down the second time he was there. He got out. If, and this is a big if, y'all, if she was paying attention, it didn't look abnormal. She's probably walking like this, looking at her thumbs, because that's kind of what middle school, high school, college age, and let's face it, even some dinosaurs like me do. We're looking more down instead of paying attention to our surroundings. So she didn't see him, or if she did, it's not abnormal to get out of the back, go to the back to get something out. But what he got was duct tape, and he duct taped her mouth closed and her hands behind her back, and he shoved her in the van and drove her 45 minutes from her home to another suburb of the city where she was trafficked in the basement of a $1.5 million house. Why is it important that you know the amount of money the house was? Because so many people think, well, that only happens in the hood or in the big cities. That would never happen here. We live in a nice, respectable neighborhood. Traffickers come in all shapes and sizes and from every demographic. It is an estimated $32 billion a year industry globally. In the United States, they did a study of 8 different cities that have been identified as hubs to see who was making money out of this game. Well, traffickers don't answer the Census Bureau and they don't report to the IRS. So they had to look at anything to do with sex industry that was legitimate. So they were looking at escorts programs. They were looking at strip clubs and things that they can document because they know that where those are going on, trafficking is not far. The #1 city that generates the most income generated $290 million a year in the legal sex industry. So you can imagine what's going on under the table, or in a hotel, or in a subdivision, or in a townhouse. There was one story of a multi-million-dollar home that had 8 victims in it, and there's been discrepancy about whether there was or wasn't trafficking going there. One of my girls has actually been in that house, and she said, Mom, probably half of it's legit. There were some girls in there that were probably being trafficked. She escaped after 3 years. She had experienced complex trauma for 3 years, servicing between 10 and 30 clients a night. When she went in, she was 15. When she came out, she was 18. Her parents could not require her to get the therapy to deal with the complex trauma. She refused. She started dating a guy kind of similar to the guy that ran the ring in the basement. because that's where she had spent the last 3 years, and that's kind of where her comfort level was, because she felt like she wasn't worthy of anything else. And his line to her was, hey, sweetheart, if you'll go out there and turn a few, once I get some more girls in the herd, then you and I can live off of them and have a white picket fence. You know, the trafficker that I interviewed for the book told me that was a line that he used 20 years ago. So while some things are changing in this game, some things are staying the same. That's force. Fraud is the whole bait and switch situation. It's where you're promised one thing, you get another. You're told, hey, you look like you'd be a great model. We had one of our models who got sick in this fashion show. We need someone. Here's a card if you're interested. I have sat with 9 different families whose daughters have bought that lie. Some of them have gone so far enough down that rabbit trail that they've been picked up by the person who's supposed to be a modeling agency, taken to a hotel, and then told, I'm dropping you at the mall with $50. Go buy sexy lingerie. We're going to take your photo shoot so we can send it out there to hopefully drum up some opportunity for you. So they did that, came back, had them stretched out in sexy poses on the bed with a little bit of money thrown around them. Let me ask you something. Do you think Tyra Banks has to go to the mall and buy the clothes that she's going to model? No. The company hiring her has this clothing waiting on her, and they have an agent that works with her agent. Do you think that that picture that was taken on the bed was going to end up on the cover of a magazine? No, it was going to end up on Backpage.com so that purchasers could start calling and scheduling dates, as they like to call them, so that they could rape and pillage her without caring about what she was, because people have become something that we treat like objects, and our objects have become something that we love. Don't believe me? Take somebody's cell phone and watch how they respond. So this young lady took her pictures. There were other girls getting their pictures made, and then someone else got a modeling job. The sad reality is she didn't get a modeling job. She got booked off Backpage, and she was taken to go turn a trick, whether she knew that before she left or not. This girl was ticked off. I'm prettier than she is. So she grabbed her cell phone and started texting her mom, because this trafficker had not taken the cell phones yet. And she's venting. I'm prettier than her. Her butt's big. She's this, she's that. Because, you know, girls, we're so nice to each other, right? We always pick out the attributes and we edify them, right? Mom had been freaking out, called Atlanta PD. They went to the hotel, and much to baby girl's dismay, took her home. She was ticked off. And then I sat with the family, and she just didn't want to hear about it until I started talking with her. Now, if you're a teenager, press pause for a minute. I'm going to talk to you parents here. The brain of a person is not fully developed in the frontal lobe until age 25 for females and age 28 for males. That is the part of the brain that allows you to understand not just cause and effect, because we learn that at a young age, but cause, effect, 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 effect. So that you think past the immediate result, and you're thinking down 4, 5, 6 steps from what happens. Don't believe me? Put a 15-year-old behind the wheel of a car and go on a major road and watch them. Because you see 6 cars up where everyone's locking them up, and you're already taking the deep breath, and you are stomping on that fake brake that you don't have over there. While they're looking around, because the car in front of them is not braking, why are you freaking out? They're not stupid. Although you may think they are, they're really not. The frontal lobe is just not fully developed. That's why she looks at the modeling card and she thinks, I'm gonna be the next Tyra Banks. You look at it and think, dear God, what were you thinking? Because it's Arm Candy Modeling Company. So that's why you need to keep the conversation lines open with your kids. That's why you need to ask them questions and then shut up and let them talk. As parents, we like to tell our kids what to do, where to go, how to act, and if they step out of line, we like to point out how they've stepped out of line. I know I'm a parent. But if we ever hope to have open conversations where we can talk about sex without them rolling their eyes or thinking that we are so last year, last month, last decade, we have to ask them questions and we have to actually listen to them. Fraud also comes in other ways that are really frightening. You see, traffickers will enroll some of their girls in school as a family member. Now, that girl is not there to get the grades. She's there to pick out the next target and to lure her from a place of comfort to a place of vulnerability. She may hang out with your child for 3-4 months getting to know her. That happened to a Hope I work with. They were buds. She was the new girl. She was cool. She had fun stuff. And then she invited Hope over to spend the night. And I'm not talking about the same girl, but I never divulged anyone's name, so everybody's Hope in our world. So she goes to spend the night, notices there are no rents in the house. Go ahead and tell your parents, that's code for parents. So there are no rents in the house, there's no sign of them anywhere, and she says, where are your folks? And she's like, you know, it's not a safe world, and my parents don't ever leave me home alone, but because you're spending the night, they're actually going on a date tonight. They're gonna go to dinner and a movie, but they left us money so we can order pizza. So they order pizza, and they might have gotten on Netflix or gotten on social media, because that's what teenagers do. And then when it's bedtime, Hope got a little concerned. She goes, oh, are they coming home? What's up with that? She never called her parents with her concerns, but she asked her friend, and she said, well, you know, they know you're here with me, so I'm cool, so maybe they stayed out a little later. It's all good. I'm tired. Let's go to bed. So they go to bed. A few hours later, Hope is jerked wide awake in this tiny room she was in with her friend, and her friend is nowhere to be found. There is a man that has woken her up, and he has friends in the room, and they each take their turn with her, and the one who woke her becomes her new daddy. Then there's coercion, and this is where we see a lot happening on social media. Coercion can be one of two ways. It can be forceful. I'm gonna beat the crap out of you. I'm gonna go rape your mama in front of you. I'm gonna go take your baby sister and do this to her. Or it could be, baby, I love you, and I just don't know how I'm gonna pay the rent. You think you could help us out? I would never ask you to do this, but one time, until you do it one time. And then he's got photos, and he's got video footage, because it doesn't take rocket science to get both. And then he's threatening, this is going on Instagram, this is going on YouTube. Everybody in your school's gonna know you a hoe. Nobody's gonna like you. Your parents don't want you. You're just trash now. But I love you. Stay with me. I'll take care of you, baby. We'll change the world together. All you gotta do is do this till I get some more girls. Then we'll get the house with a picket fence. Social media. It's great. We all use it for a variety of things. Now, your parents and your grandparents, most of them on Facebook, because they don't know how to use Instagram. They don't know how to tweet anything. I'm speaking to my own generation. We need some help on how to use this social media. Don't ever give your child, y'all gonna not be happy with me, teenagers, that I love you and this is for your own good. Don't give them technology that you don't know how to use. Because her boo's gonna ask for a picture of some part of her body that her bathing suit covers. And she's crushing on him, and she wants him to go further to be boyfriend. And so she may give in to peer pressure. She may take that photo and send it, because after all, it's just him and he loves me, right? She's committed 2 felonies. She took a picture of her body parts. She's just manufactured child pornography. She now has it on her phone, so she is in possession of child pornography. And then she sent it to her boo, so now she's committed a 3rd distribution of child pornography. And whose name is on the contract for the cell phone? Yours. So now you could be charged with 3 felonies. Have conversations with your kids. No self-respecting young lady, or even one who's been manipulated a little bit, is going to do this if she knows that she could have committed 3 felonies. And teens, college students, please, God, listen to me when I say this. Snapchat does not disappear in 7 seconds. It is on a server somewhere that people far more savvy than you and me can hack and get to, or forget that. You send it in 7 seconds, screenshot, now it's there forever, for Instagram, for YouTube, for whatever. So think, past, cause, and effect. We need cause, effect, 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 effect. And parents and grandparents and teachers and those who know a teenager anywhere, that's on you to help them get there, because they're not going to do it on their own because they can't. The brain isn't fully developed. It's not their fault. It's going to take all of us to get in this game, to make it work. So if you have Snapchat, how many of you got Snapchat? Even grandma up here's got Snapchat. Let me just go and tell you. But I'm gonna tell you this, don't put anything to anybody on Snapchat that you don't want on the front page of the newspaper. Don't tweet anything to anybody that you don't want out there in the world. Don't send a video thinking, oh, this is just gonna stay between me and him because he's my special boo. No, he's not. I don't care if he's not a trafficker and he has no issue. You don't give a boyfriend husband privileges. So protect yourself, protect your worth, protect your integrity, protect your future, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Your future colleges, go on your social media when you apply. Your future employers, go on your social media when you apply. And I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm up here leaving my family, coming to tell you because I have sat with victim after victim after victim. And life is hard, and I would so much rather you never get in the life, and maybe life's a little harder through your middle school, high school, college years, than for you to bend to social pressure and then end up having law enforcement call me in to sit and talk with you or your parents. Or worse yet, like one of the girls that I've worked with, have law enforcement call me to tell me that you're face down in a creek because maybe you decided you were gonna leave the life and your trafficker decided you weren't. This is not a game, this is real. This is life and death, and they don't wait till you grow up to be an adult to get you in this game. They don't wait for your frontal lobe to fully develop for them to start coming after you. They're using you against you to gain you. Be smarter than them. Be smarter than them. Number 1 app out there right now being used by traffickers is Kik, K-I-K. Be real. Anybody out there gonna admit they got it on their phone? It's a social media connector. It wasn't created to hook people up to do evil. It was created so people could connect, and traffickers are cashing in on it. Here's the kicker. Our law enforcement are doing everything they can to fight this. They're trying to go after it, but guess what? Kik is based in Canada. They don't care what our DA says. They don't have to do anything that we want. They're in another country. You have to jump through so many hoops to even get the data from Kik. If you are a U.S. attorney, if you work for Homeland, if you're an FBI agent, it doesn't matter. They don't have to bend to your request. Snapchat is another one that they're seeing, and then Plenty of Fish. There are others. If you're connecting socially on an app, guess what? A trafficker's already on there. And the important thing is, he's not going to come up with a t-shirt that says, hi, I'm a trafficker, I'm going to rape and pillage you and sell you for 30 times a night so I can sit back in my crib and do nothing but watch sports and have a good time while you going out there for daddy and earn the rent. No. None of you would fall victim to that. He's going to romance you. He's going to be your friend. Let me tell you something. It doesn't matter how many friends your social media says. If you don't know him face to face, he ain't your friend. It's important that you don't share information. I love this generation because they'll talk to anybody, they're friendly and all of that. But there's a time and a place for that. And you share way too much information on social media. I know because I'm friends with a lot of you all over the country. I had a kid, he posted, I pooped. I'm like, seriously? And I needed to know that. I had another girl, she's smart, straight A student. Her parents and her family really involved in church. She's very active in school. She plays sports, a great softball player. And she posted on her social media, I'm home alone and bored. Somebody text me, and put her phone number out there. I called her up. I said, hey, baby girl, you know I love you, right? She said, yeah, mama, what's up? I said, take that stupid post down before I come over there and slap the stupid out of you myself. I said, let me tell you something. You know how directionally challenged you are, so that GPS in your phone helps you find your way to Starbucks to get your Frappuccino? There's somebody out there smarter than me and you that can flip that sucker and figure out exactly where you are. You've given him your picture, you've told him you're home alone, and now you've given him a GPS tracking system so he can find you. She got pretty hysterical, go figure. Because I wasn't thinking about that. No, you weren't thinking about that because your frontal lobe's not fully developed and your mama should have told you not to do that. So I look like somebody on television. I got one phone here talking to her, then I called her mama. I said, hey, sweet girl, you know how much I love you, right? She goes, yeah, what's up, girl? I said, you get home and protect your baby girl before I come over there and slap both of you, because she is being stupid and it's not her fault. So get in there and teach her this. That's why I travel the country and speak. That's why I go into schools. That's why I will talk to any teenager or college student anywhere around. They probably think I'm a creeper or a trafficker coming after them, but I'm wanting to make sure you know how to be safe. And I'm wanting to jerk a knot in parents who are so busy with their emails and their text messages and their work phone calls and meetings that they're not paying attention to you when they realize there's somebody else out there that's paying more attention to you because he's going to earn a buck off your behind. This is serious. We got to get real. We got to help each other. Students, if you see that girl that maybe has some acne or glasses or a little bit of weight, don't call her four eyes or buck teeth or fatty Kathy. Be her friend. And there are guys that are trafficking victims as well, in middle school, in high school. One of the detectives I work with worked a case for a young man who would leave dinner off and on, odd hours. They could be just sitting down. He'd get a text message and he'd flip out the door. And his dad thought he was the biggest derelict. He was ready to take him out. He was disrespectful. He was rude. He was unappreciative of what he had, and he was full of it. The reality is, he was a trafficking victim. And his trafficker said, if you don't come when I call, I will murder your father in front of you, and it'll be your fault. He loved his dad. He respected his dad. He was doing everything that he could to protect his dad. Parents, tell your kids, you got your own back. It is not their responsibility to protect your back and to do these god-awful things. Tell them just to come and talk to you. There are people that can help you. But be that friend. Be that person that reaches that kid on the fringe that nobody asks anything and ask them. Be cool with them. You know what? You might just find your next best friend. Somebody that 20 years from now, they'll be back in your life and they'll be helping you fight the fight against trafficking. I know that because I have one of those friends. And her story is part of Rescuing Hope. And she has traveled with me and she has come to events to help us before. You got to be part of the solution. You can't just be part of the target audience to be targeted. Edmund Burke, who's a famous old dude, just so you know, he said, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men, and I say and women, to do nothing. We all like to think this doesn't impact me. This is not in my zip code. I'm in my little bubble, and as long as I sit here and go la 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 with my fingers in my ears, my kids are safe. After all, it would never happen in Tuscaloosa, right? So if I don't talk to my kids about sex, they're not going to have sex. Wrong. If I don't talk about prevention and sex trafficking, they're not a potential victim. Wrong. A lot of parents want to be their kids' best friends, and so they want to be the cool parent. They want to hang out. I have a message for you. Get over yourself. That kid wasn't brought into your world so you could be their friend. That's what their classmates are there for. If you do your job right, when they leave your house, they'll come back and they'll be your friend. But if you don't do your job right, they may leave your house and never come back again. Sometimes not by choice. We have to step up our game. We are losing children daily. And for those of you who hear rumors in school, oh, this girl's in the bathroom giving blowjobs to any guy that she wants to in the class break. Somebody get there. Or schools are doing circle huddles in the hall in between class, and it's happening right there in front of an audience so the teachers can't see it. Yeah, I'm not making this stuff up. It really happens. You don't think so? Ask your kids. If they are real with you, if you have an open relationship with them, they'll verify it. She's doing that because there was a wounding somewhere. Over 90% of trafficking victims were sexually compromised prior to meeting their trafficker. Have conversations. Ask what's going on. Be in their world. If they're on social media, make a requirement that you are on their social media page as a friend or a follower or whatever. Now, don't be going and putting stupid stuff on their page, or they will unfriend you faster than that. And who could blame them? Make your presence known without making your presence known. All you gotta do is like something. Don't comment, and for heaven's sakes, don't say, well, sweetheart, because then they will hate you. Because traffickers pay attention to who your friends are, because they're trying to figure out if they cannot get you, maybe they'll get one of your unsuspecting friends. So once you make a connection with them, they're gonna go through your whole friend base and try and do that. They forget there's some dinosaurs like me on people's friend page. They don't know. And so if we're making our presence known there, then you suddenly became a very high-risk target. So kids, don't get mad if your parents want to be your friend on social media. If they're doing that, they love you. Just having their presence there makes you more of a high-risk target because somebody's watching you. It's critically important. If you want to find any more information, you can go to our website, www.rescuinghope.com. You can email me, Susan@rescuinghope.com, and you can find out all kinds of free resources there. So thank you for listening. I hope that we've helped a little bit. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging out upstairs afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.